north of here, there may be a glimmer of hope for one of our most endangered animals, the wildcat. In a Countryfile Diaries exclusive, Jules is in the West Highlands of Scotland, where he's hoping to catch sight of 2 wildcat kittens. They're amongst the rarest youngsters in the world, and they face a real battle for survival.
To put things into perspective, there are 1,000 pandas left in the wild, 3,000 tigers and 20,000 polar bears. But according to some experts, there are fewer than 40 wildcats. So it came as something of a shock to Dr. Paul O'Donoghue, Chief Scientific Advisor for Wildcat Haven, when he was sent these photos. These 8-week-old kittens were rescued from a remote forest roadside, and Paul knew at once how special they were. The 2 of them, a boy and a girl, are now in his care, and I'm meeting him to find out more.
Yeah, well, hoping upon hope we won't get wet today, but I suspect we will.
Typical Scottish weather.
To have 2 of these kittens come to you at once, I mean, that's amazing.
It's incredible, and they're lucky to be alive. I mean, these kittens were hours from death when we found them.
Yeah.
Within 12 hours, though, they transformed from being these pathetic little scraps to being ferocious little tigers, and we couldn't handle them, even with gauntlets.
So I guess the key thing is that you don't want to get too familiar with them. You want to maintain that wild instinct.
The wilder they are, the better chance of survival they've got. We love them, but they hate us.
But, you know, we laugh about it, but that's how it should be, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But the biggest threat to the wildcats isn't from humans. It's from feral domestic cats. Interbreeding messes with the gene pool, which Wildcat Haven are determined to keep pure, whatever it takes.
What we've done is we have a release site for these guys where we've neutered every domestic cat over 1,000 square miles. So these can go into an area where they can only breed with other wildcats, and that's how you save the Scottish wildcat.
But I think for many people, they just simply don't really appreciate just how rare the wildcat is. There are less than 40, I gather, now in the wild.
And to put it in context, that's 70 times rarer than a giant panda.
But, you know, these 2 kittens might just help ensure their future.
These kittens offer a lifeline for the species, and we want them back in the wild where they belong as soon as possible.
That's 4 to 5 months away, so until then, they're in a special enclosure where they can roam freely. To give us a fighting chance of seeing them, we've come armed with a hide and a fresh roe deer roadkill, which these 2 would naturally scavenge in the wild.
Right then, I'll take the hide.
Take the hide, I'll take the deer.
Okay.
Well, here we are, Jules. This is the biggest wildcat enclosure in Europe.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Absolutely.
So they're most active in the morning?
Yeah, morning and first thing in the morning and dusk. So the wildcat's in his den.
OK, yeah.
We have to be very quiet now.
OK, just inside there. OK.
The kittens, which are now 4.5 months old, were last seen right here. So, fingers crossed, they might still be around.
So how big am I expecting to see these kittens?
Well, even now, a bit bigger than a domestic cat.
Are they?
Yeah, they've grown astonishingly quickly.
Well, we're looking for them, and there's a very good chance that they are looking at us.
I've tracked jaguars, I've tracked tigers. I get the same thrill from trying to see one of these. And we're sat 10 yards away from 2 of the rarest animals on the planet.
That's the thing about genuine wildlife, isn't it? You never know. It is absolutely on their terms. We're on their turf.
We're in their territory. This is not a zoo. They're here, they do what they want to do, when they want to do it.
Like you say, we love them, but they hate us. And they're doing a really good job of showing it because they're not coming out.
Absolutely. And that's why they'll survive.
A no-show for now, but Paul and his team monitor these kittens daily, with 8 remote cameras set up at different feeding sites and dens. The kittens look a bit like a domestic tabby, but the thick and stripy tail with a black blunt tip is the giveaway. Paul's footage is as close as I'm going to get to them today, but they are utterly adorable. And one day, they might turn into a seriously big guy, which Paul's encountered.
Jules, I'm going to show you now footage of one of the biggest wildcats anyone's ever seen, the Clashindarroch beast.
Wow! Look at the scale of him.
This is massive, I'm telling you.
Compared to that log.
Look.
Any idea how old he'd be?
He's certainly fully grown, fully mature. I'm guessing maybe between 5 and 8 years old. That is the biggest free-living cat in the UK.
But is he surrounded by a bigger population, or is he in isolation?
Absolutely. He's got 13 other wildcats around him, at least, in the Clashindarroch Forest.
But that is a third of the entire global population.
It's more than that, so it's priceless. You cannot put a value on it. It's the most viable breeding population of Scottish wildcats left in existence.
This lad might be a beast at 4 feet, but his future is under threat, along with the other 13 wildcats in Clashindarroch. Plans to extend a wind farm could destroy their habitat and push them to the brink of extinction.
We, Wildcat Haven, we can't see a reason to justify the clear felling of this population. I am pro-green energy, but there are so many bare, denuded hills that wind farms can go on. We do not need to clear fell the wildcat's last stronghold. We formed a petition. We got 350,000 signatures. It's the biggest British wildlife petition ever done. It cannot be ignored. It's unthinkable to think of Scotland without the wildcat and the Clashindarroch without its population of wildcats. It's unthinkable.
So just how big a threat is this wind farm? I'm getting out of the rain to catch up with Colin Ormston, Development Director of Vattenfall, the energy company behind the proposed extension.
If we were talking about giant pandas, we wouldn't be even beginning to tempt any sort of development, and yet we've got far fewer wildcats than pandas.
We're looking to fill what will probably be less than 2% of the forest. From the information that we've located before on the dense sites, we don't believe there are any dense sites in the areas that we're looking for. That's what our results are telling us.
But given just how delicate the future of this species is, and how few the numbers, is it a risk worth taking to even consider further disturbing this unique habitat?
No, we're not about to build this right now. We're doing the development that feeds an environmental impact assessment. We'll be doing further surveys, we'll be doing camera traps. And if it turns out there is a sensitivity in the area that we're developing, then we would absolutely take on board. And as a protected species, you know, we're not allowed to disturb or impact on them in that way.
Trying to balance the competing demands between our need for clean energy and our conservation of wildlife is a dilemma we are going to be facing for many years to come. Who will be the winners and the losers? Well, frankly, that is impossible to say. But there's no getting away from the fact that here in Scotland, the survival of one of our rarest animals is still very much in question.